evening, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has warned the world if Hamas wins, if the ideology of Hamas is not decimated, if Israel does not destroy Hamas, then radical terror ideology will target Europe and the rest of the world next. He insists Israel is not fighting a local war against Hamas. Israel, he insists, is at the forefront of a global war against radical Islamist terror. There are leaders in Israel who say this is a clash of civilizations. It's now been 1 month since the worst terror attack in Israel's history. 1,400 massacred in Israel and more than 10,000 killed and injured in the Gaza Strip. But Israel any closer to achieving its aim? Sharon Haskell is a member of the Israeli Knesset, the Israeli parliament. She joins me from Jerusalem. Also with me on India Today from Ramallah in the Palestinian West Bank is Bana Hamadan, author and writer. We'll get you all sides of the story. I'm Gaurav Sawant as always. Let's get started with the headlines at 10. 2024 semi-final kicks off. Over 70% voter turnout in both Chhattisgarh and in Mizoram. Next phase of voting in Chhattisgarh on the 17th of November. Massive outrage over Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar's comments on population control in the Bihar Assembly. National Commission for Women seeks an apology from the Bihar Chief Minister. BJP says Nitish Kumar used vulgar gestures, demands his resignation. Supreme Court comes down heavily on Delhi and Punjab governments, orders immediate stop of farm fires. Delhi Pollution Control Board chief summoned by the Supreme Court. Another major Uttar Pradesh city stares at a name change. The Aligarh Municipal Corporation unanimously passes a proposal to change the name of Aligarh to Harigarh. It's been exactly 1 month of the worst terror attack in Israel's history, when close to 2,000 armed Hamas terrorists, they cut across the fence, barged into Israel, into the southern part of Israel, and massacred 1,400 people. They abducted close to 250 people, including women and children, some toddlers barely 9 months old. Israel continues to pound Gaza Strip in its operation to wipe out the Hamas. Bombardment has intensified in the Gaza Strip. The IDF attacks the enclave from air, ground and sea. The crisis in Gaza is worsening. India Today gets you this ground report.
October the 7th, 2023. The darkest day unfolds in Israel's history. Hundreds of Hamas terrorists killed over 1,400 Israelis and people of other nationalities, butchering babies, randomly shooting, firing rocket-propelled grenades, burning homes, taking hundreds, including little children, hostage. What followed was a vengeful Israel's unsparing reprisal attacks to finish the Hamas. Launching unsparing airstrikes on Hamas and a ground operation into the Gaza Strip. Now, over a month into the war, Israeli Defense Forces tank columns continue to roll across the Gaza Strip.
These efforts result in extraordinary achievements, including strikes on terrorists and their commands in the field. Just over the past day, we have eliminated both company commanders and battalion commanders, some of whom were expected to fill in for commanders we had eliminated 1 or 2 days prior.
The IDF on Tuesday announced that it has killed Hamas commander Wael Asafa, one of the masterminds of the October 7th terror attack. Jihad Shahade, commander of the military wing of the Fatah Brigade, was also said to be eliminated. Israeli Air Force jets have struck over 450 Hamas targets in the past days, including tunnels and military compounds, often hidden among hospitals, schools and mosques. The IDF recovered over 50 rockets hidden in a Gaza compound used for youth activities, ready to be launched towards Israel.
We are shooting to help Israeli troops in Gaza Strip fighting Hamas. We are shooting very accurately, very precisely by coordinates given to us by officers on ground in Gaza Strip. We are doing anything we can to avoid civilian casualties. We don't want any civilian to get hurt. Unlike Hamas, it uses their own people as human shields.
Israel's military also released an aerial video showing Palestinian civilians in Gaza moving south after a directive by the IDF to vacate the northern areas, which are being struck the most. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called Israel's fight the last stand against terror and said if it fails, Europe too will fall.
If they go strong, if they're not defeated, they will derail this process. They will imperil the entire Middle East. If the Middle East falls to the axis of terror, Europe will be next, and no one will be safe. This is not a local battle. This is a global battle.
The Biden administration has said that a ceasefire now would help Hamas regroup and attack Israel again.
A ceasefire right now would not prevent Hamas from continuing terror attacks and firing rocket attacks at Israel in the future. And on the contrary, it would let Hamas off the hook, allow Hamas enough time to regroup, and we can't allow that.
Despite threats from Iran, Syria and Lebanon, there may be no let-up in Israel's attacks till the hostages remain in Hamas captivity.
People are prepared here to take care of any contingency. Soldiers here are prepared. The morale is high and they are ready to take on any kind of threat on as many fronts as it takes, be it from Hamas in the south, be it from Hezbollah in the north, or be it Syria in the east, or further south, be it Houthis in Yemen. This is Rajesh Pawar from Tri-Junction of Syria, Lebanon and Israel border for India Today.
Sharon Haskell is a member of parliament in the Knesset in Jerusalem. She joins me on the broadcast. Sharon Haskell, Gaza authorities say the death toll has now crossed 10,000 and Israel is being accused of a genocidal attack on the Gaza Strip, with civilian areas now directly in the line of fire. Will Israel permit a pause?
Well, I never heard such accusations, and it's very far from the reality. Truth is that Hamas had entered towns and massacred entire families and burned down. Hamas has targeted Jews particularly, and is still targeting Jews. I mean, if you look on the intentions of genocide, look on Hamas platform where it is written that they will not stop until the full annihilation of the state of Israel and the Jewish people. I mean, do you know that there isn't a single Jewish citizen in Gaza? Okay. There isn't a single Jewish citizen in the Palestinian Authority. Actually, if you want to buy property and any Palestinians will be caught selling a Jew a property, they are risking the death penalty. So,
but what I want to understand from you, ma'am, what I want to understand from you, Sharon Haskell, what are Israel's conditions to agree to a pause? What, according to you, to the Israeli government, is the roadmap for a ceasefire?
We can stop the fights today, actually even yesterday, and we said that. As soon as Hamas bring us back all of our hostages and surrender, this thing will be behind us. unfortunately, Hamas doesn't care for the life of Israeli, and it doesn't care for the lives of the Palestinians either. I mean, they're holding them as hostages in Gaza. They are shooting rockets from dense populated areas, from schools, from hospitals. Just yesterday, the army released footage of rocket launchers from inside a branch of a children's scout. The facility of the children's scouts was actually a front for Hamas, who took over it in order to shoot hundreds of rockets just from there. So they are using their population, their children, as human shields in this fight. Now,
so
if you
what
look
you are
on
saying, ma'am, what you are saying is, the moment hostages are released, your bombing will stop. Israel's bombing will stop. 1 month into these operations, has Israel reached any of the milestones in Israel's war to decimate Hamas?
Well, unfortunately, Hamas is hiding and is and their bunkers and ammunitions are under places like schools and hospitals and dense populated areas. So we can't just attack it. We have to surgically go in order to basically eliminate their facilities, their infrastructure, their ammunition. I mean, this has taken time because we don't want, or we try to get at least the least possible casualties who are not involved with Hamas, and unfortunately, that takes time. It takes longer, than just act in a manner that the Israeli army doesn't do.
So, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he's addressed about 80 diplomats from different countries in Israel, and he says, if Israel fails, Europe is the next target. Is that fear-mongering, or is this based on some assessment, ma'am?
Fact is that radical Islam is something that is more and more common and is taking over in different parts of the Western world. When you see people that are marching and chanting in support of Hamas, in support of massacres in Europe and in America, you understand that the threat is very close. I mean, Hamas is not, is not fighting a territorial war. This is a battalion of army run by Iran. Iran is the one that is instigating most of this violence. Hezbollah, that's another battalion of the army of Iran. Same as the Houthis and same in Iraq and in Syria. They have battalions in different countries who are ready to fight, kill, and even commit suicide as long as they're fulfilling the goals of radical Islam. And that's what we've seen here on the 7th of October. This attack was an attack by Iran. They were trained in Iran, their army, their weapons were from Iran. You even heard in some of the social media videos, people speak in Gaza in Farsi. So you understand that there are people on the ground. Now, Iran is not hiding its goal. There have been multiple terrorist attacks who were prevented on European soil, and some that unfortunately we weren't able to stop them ahead of time.
No, but what you are saying, ma'am, what you're saying is Israel is the victim, but protests, whether these protests are taking place in Europe or in the United States of America, major parts of the civil society, including academics, students, they look at Israel as the aggressor. Many seem to be, thinking Hamas and Palestine perhaps are the same.
If you look on the map, you already have Hezbollah bases in Central and South America. Obviously, not all of them are like that. There are many protests who want and protect and are demonstrating as pro-Palestinians. But in there, you see people who are violently rioting and calling for an international intifada. What does it mean, international intifada? It means the massacre, butchering, murdering infidels. And who are the infidels? Anyone who is not Muslims or Muslim as they are. And so those calling and those chants of a global intifada, that's what it means. And I understand, and obviously not everybody are like that, but they are dragged into the story as well. And that's why you see more and more leaders of the free world, of people who believe in those mutual values of liberty, of freedom, of equality, the sanctity of life, are all backing up Israel, because they understand that this is not just a local conflict, but this is somewhat of a clash of civilization in a much wider conflict against radical Islam.
You're saying it's a clash of civilizations. It's a clash. Can you explain why you believe this is a clash of civilizations, Sharon Haskell?
What I'm saying, it's not a local territorial conflict. This is, in fact, radical Islam operated by Iran, funded by Iran, supported by Iran, trained by Iran. Exactly the same as Hezbollah is an army trained and operating by Iran. Same as the Houthis. I mean, everybody knows, why the hell would the Houthi from Yemen shoot missiles towards Israel as they've done in recent months? How is Syria at any kind, in this deal as well? Can you explain to me how come 28, and these are actual facts, 28 American bases in Iran, in Iraq, and in Syria have been attacked by the Iranian militias? So you understand that we are right now in a global conflict of radical Islam. And you see the roots also in different countries.
So you're looking at this as a global conflict with radical Islamist terror. We'll track that story very closely. Sharon Haskell for joining me here on India Today. Many thanks. Now, Israel's counter-offensive on Gaza continues to escalate. Massive pounding from air, land and sea is taking place. Hamas authorities in Gaza have claimed that the fatalities have crossed 10,000. The humanitarian crisis in Gaza is worsening. We bring you this report from ground zero.
Khan Yunis in southern Gaza is where many displaced Palestinians are headed from the north. The relative peace of the region, however, was shattered on Tuesday as Israeli forces bombed a residential area. Rescuers were seen searching for survivors under the debris.
People have been destroyed, their lives are destroyed, children are destroyed, women and children died. No one is left in Gaza. Is anyone left in Gaza? No one remains. Thank God we are safe, but I swear we are waiting for death.
The airstrike near Rafah, where the border with Egypt is open, has affected evacuation efforts. The humanitarian crisis in Gaza is worsening every passing day. Water is scarce. Long lines to fill canisters is a common sight.
There is no clean or even saline water available. Each person comes with 20-liter canister and shares it with the rest of the family. It's the same situation every day. At night, it's not safe due to the shelling.
Israel's military has released a video of what it said were strikes on Hamas targets near a hospital in northern Gaza. The army said it was targeting a Hamas base in a building adjacent to the Al-Quds hospital where an attack was being planned. Meanwhile, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has expressed concern over Gaza becoming a graveyard for children.
We must act now to find a way out of this brutal, awful, agonizing dead end of destruction. to help end the pain and suffering, to help heal the broken, and to help pave the way to peace, to a two-state solution with Israelis and Palestinians living in peace and security.
Hamas authorities in Gaza claims fatalities in Israeli attacks have crossed 10,000. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has rejected calls for a ceasefire. Tel Aviv has made it clear that unless Hamas releases the 240 hostages in their custody, there is no chance for peace. Bureau Report, India Today.
And I quickly want to cut across to Ramallah in the West Bank, where Bana Hamadan, author and writer, joins me on India Today. Ms. Hamadan, welcome on India First. Israel says a ceasefire at this stage will help Hamas regroup, rearm and attack Israel again. Is that also your appreciation?
Hi from Ramallah. Yes, I hope that we are safe too here, because in the West Bank we are living really a besieged West Bank also. Every day we wake up and there are many martyred Palestinians and innocents. Children are being killed by the Israeli occupation forces. We are forbidden to move between cities and the villages in the West Bank. We cannot all reach our schools or universities or our work offices. So it is not easy, but it is nothing maybe compared to what is happening in Gaza, the genocide operation by the Israeli occupation authorities against Gaza. It is something huge that we cannot imagine. Is it? We are all asking ourselves, is it true what is happening in Gaza? All these people, children, innocent civilians, are being killed every day. Hundreds of people. Do you know what does it mean? Hundreds of people are being killed every day, and all the world, many people are protesting, standing with Palestine, but they don't hear. They don't hear the governments, the U.S., many of the European states, and Israel. Each time, millions of people are protesting, standing with Palestine and with Gaza.
However, Ms. Hamadan, the world is saying for a ceasefire. There are several countries that have come forward and said, and you just heard Sharon Haskell, the member of parliament, who said, return the hostages. Should the return of hostages be a precondition to stop the bombing, create an environment for ceasefire, let Hamas return the 250 hostages?
All the Gazans, the Palestinians who are living in Gaza Strip, are being lived as hostages for 16 years, and now they are besieged more and more difficulty by the Israeli military forces who are shooting and bombing Gaza from the sea and from air and from land, and they divided the Gaza Strip to north and south and middle. So we are living as hostages for 16 years, and now also in the West Bank we are also hostages because we cannot move, we cannot go outside West Bank and Gaza. They are living this. We wish to end the war, in any stop killing. It's really hurting. We in the West Bank also, we cannot live as normal. We cannot go to our work. Our feelings and psychologically we are tired. We are exhausted, and the people in Gaza, they have been exhausted since 16 years. It's really much. I call my friends every day to see if they are alive. It's really hard. My friend
but the fact remains, ma'am, if Hamas were to return the hostages, wouldn't it lead to an environment for a ceasefire and for talks to move forward? I've run out of time on this part of the show, but there's a story we'll be tracking very, very closely. Ms. Hamadan, please stay safe. For joining me here on India Today, many thanks.